This game was provided to Crits Happen by Dragon's Lair Comic and Fantasy. Check them out online at dlair.net for all your comic and gaming needs.
Hi everyone, it's Tox from critshappen.com. Thanks for watching and welcome back. Today we've got a critical review of Fantasy Flight Games' Relic, otherwise known as Talisman in Space! Yeah, that was really nerdy. Okay, so if you're familiar with Talisman, this is all going to seem very comfortable and very homecoming to you. This is essentially Talisman with a 40K theme and a few different mechanics thrown in to differentiate itself. If you are not familiar with Talisman, let me take a second to kind of explain how the game works. The game is set up on this gigantic board and uses a lot of cards and a lot of tokens. At the beginning of the game, you're going to select an objective. There's 5 that come with the game, although it's good to note that one of them purely means get to the center first. The others are going to have battles and different things that are going to be required once you get to the center. So there's technically 4 that have some advanced objectives and 1 that has a very easy objective. Then you're going to pick one of the 10 characters. This is where the game starts to get really interesting. So on a character card, there's quite a bit of information. Along the very top, you're going to see a lot of different icons that look like they make no sense whatsoever. But each of the icons represent either an attribute your character can obtain and increase, or a card that you can acquire throughout the game that's going to help you. Now, each player is also going to get a status board, and the status board is going to go on top of your player card. And you'll see along the top here that there are little pin marks. There's going to be a little pin that you're going to put into, a little plastic pin, that's going to be put into each one of these starting from the start side and moving up in the other direction. And every time your character levels up, you'll move that pin up and you'll acquire the either bonus points or the cards right below that pin when they move up. In addition, each character has different attributes. Some of them will have very beneficial things that will happen to them. Some of them will impact other players when they do certain things. And then there's going to be a level up ability that, in addition to the items listed along the track at the top, they're going to be able to take care, or I guess perform that ability, you could call it, whenever they level up. Now, how do you level up? Well, it's a good question. Before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about the board itself and how it's laid out. The board, if you're unfamiliar with Talisman, is laid out in rings. There's an outer ring that will provide you with some challenging scenarios. There is a middle ring that will be more challenging, and then there is a center spiral that will take you from one space entering all the way around to the center objective. Each ring becomes increasingly more challenging in how you're going to have to battle different enemies, how you're going to have to deal with different situations that come up, and how you're going to have to handle the abilities of each of the spaces. And obviously, you don't want to move in until you've leveled up your character a little more. So each character has 3 main attributes plus a life total. So the green dial represents life, and each character will start with a different amount of lives. The red corresponds to strength, the blue corresponds to willpower, and the yellow corresponds to cunning. And each of those correspond to the same color threat decks. Now the threat decks are going to be used along the playing spaces on the board. When you move, you start off based on your character. They will have a specific starting space on the board. You will move by rolling a die and moving clockwise or counterclockwise in that direction. You're not allowed to move one way and then go the other opposite way middle of the move. You have to keep going in the direction you want to go. So in this case, I rolled a 5. I would move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this way, or I could move 5 that way. And then I have to deal with the threat icons on that space. Or if there's no threat icons, then I deal with the text box that is sitting on the space and it will tell me what to do. In most cases, it's as simple as roll a die and on the result perform X. But some of them become very challenging, some can become very rewarding, some can become very risky. In this case, I landed on Abandoned Ruins. The Abandoned Ruins has a single red threat icon. Now there's 2 things to note. Number 1, if there is already a red threat card on here, I don't have to draw anything. But if there isn't, then I do have to draw. So in this case, I draw a Soldiers of the Blood God. I put that on this space, and then depending on what kind of card it is going to determine how I would resolve them if there were multiple cards. You'll see when we show you the gameplay, there's spaces that will have sometimes 2, sometimes 3 different threat icons, and not always of the same color. Now, this gets even more complicated because while there's this little 1 in the upper right hand corner and it looks like it would be very easy for me to beat this guy, he looks very simple, you'll see that he has a thing that says special timing, and it says during your exploration phase, this enemy adds the following threat icons to its space. So essentially the 2 red threat icons that are on that card now become part of this space, and I have to draw the other 2 and put them on this space. And in this case, I get a Weird Boy Warphead and an Evil Sun's War Buggy. Now all 3 of these cards are enemies, so they're all going to resolve at the same time. I'm going to have to fight them all at the same time because they're all of the same color. And you'll see that by the number in the upper right is a little red circle behind that, which represents that they're a strength enemy. There are times when you're going to draw cards from a colored deck that have a value that's not matching that type of color. So I could draw an enemy from the strength deck that has a cunning attribute or has a willpower attribute. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm always going to draw that. There's smaller opportunity to draw that than drawing the main ones from that deck, but it's good to know that as a possibility. So to show you a quick battle really simple, I would take my strength of my character, which for this guy actually starts out at I believe 4, let me just double check, 5. So he has 5. Because these guys are all the same, their totals get added together. And you see these totals in the upper right. So they actually have a total of 11 strength. Then I would roll a 6-sided die for my strength, and the enemy would roll 1 6-sided die for its strength. I rolled a 6 and the enemy rolled a 5. That is really, really good. And why is that really, really good? Well, on a 6, you get to explode your die and roll again. So I have 11 and the enemy has 15. I would then roll an additional die and I would get another 6. I'd explode again, and I could keep rolling as long as I roll 6s. But essentially, if I'm not exploding my dice, you roll 1 die, your enemy rolls 1 die, you add them together. Now, just as I rolled a 6, my enemy could roll a 6 as well. You normally are not the one rolling for your enemy, it's your opponent or the person to your left that's going to be the one rolling for the enemy. But because of that exploding die capability, it can really rack up your strength or whatever attribute you're rolling for really, really high, really, really quickly. I've seen a lot of times where someone with a very small attribute is going to beat a very big set of enemies just because they either explode their dice or because they have things that will let them explode their dice on lower rolls. That's a very big part of the game, but it makes the battles even more tense and even more exciting. So, essentially, you're running around the outer ring, you're gaining attributes, you're leveling up, you're gaining more accessories. We'll talk about that during gameplay. Then on top of that, you're moving in towards the center to finally get to your objective and either be the first person in the center or the first person in the center to complete the objective's requirements. That is essentially Relic. Let's take a second. We're going to show you some gameplay between myself and Mrs. Talks in a 2-player game. We'll get into a little bit of the battles, a little bit of the events, and a little bit of leveling up and show you what it entails, and then we'll come back and we'll give you my final thoughts. But until then, come with me. Grab your best Space Marine war gear and let's jump into the world of Relic. Okay, so we are going to show you a little bit of gameplay with 2 players. I am one of the Imperial Guard, and Mrs. Talks is one of the Space Marines, the Ultramarines. She is starting on this corner of the board, which is the Ultramar Emissary board space, and I am at the Battlefield Antaeus space. Just as a quick recap, I'll put up the pictures of our characters, but my guy starts with a power limit of 1, so I am going to get a single power card. Then I have the special ability that says instead of resolving your movement phase normally, I may move to any other space in my tier that has 1 or more encounter threat cards. The tiers are the outer ring, the middle ring, and the center spiral. So I can move to any other space that already has a threat card present in it. Then I also have, at the start of your engagement phase, you may take any stranger encounters in your space and place them in your play area. This card's ability cannot be used. So there's going to be cards that will come out that are strangers, and I can take them off the board and make them part of me, basically. Then additionally, after you roll a die for your movement roll, battle roll, or skill roll, I can discard one of your allies or strangers to treat that result as a 6. So as I steal the strangers off the board, I can then turn them into 6s, which is going to allow me to explode dice and get even more. And in addition, I start with a strength of 3, a willpower of 4, a cunning of 2, and a life of 4. So why don't you tell us what your guy has?
He has a special ability that he gets a battle bonus of 2. Each time he draws a mission card, excluding the setup, he gets to draw an additional one. Choose one to keep and discard the rest. And then each time you draw a corruption card, place it face down, and it never activates.
So that's really big. So corruption cards on the front side of them will have some bad things that happen, because obviously they're corruptible. But in her case, she's going to get them face down. She's never going to have to deal with them. As we encounter that through gameplay, if we do, we'll explain a little bit more about that. But essentially, too many corruption cards means you're bad and you're out of the game. So, and then what's your starting attributes?
Strength 4, willpower 2, cunning 1, and 5 life.
All right. Okay, so you want to roll 2 dice, and whoever has the highest goes first?
All right, do we get mission cards?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. And what's your power limit?
Power limit 1.
So you draw 1 power card, and then we each get a mission card. And your ability is excluding setup, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So missions go face up, and everyone can see them. Power cards go face down. Mine is Liberate the Forge World. The servants of the Omasar are under attack. Free them from this oppression. Win a battle on a space in a Forge World area. Okay, so this is something that's new. So each space is its own space, but each block is its own area. So from the inner space here, not including the corner, over is the Forge World area. So I'm going to have to get my guy over there and start to complete battles. If I do, my reward is I may keep this card as a completed mission or take it as an ally asset. To take it as an ally, place a character token on it, and it gains the following skill bonus, which is a 3 to all of my cunning rolls. What do you got?
I've got the objective is spend 1 or more influence while resolving the recover ability on the Apothecarium Cepha space.
Okay, that's over here in the middle tier.
Okay. My reward is reveal 1 war gear card and acquire it at no cost.
Oh, that's nice.
You may then add 3 charges to it. Let's see, then add 3 charge to 1 of your assets with the charge icon.
Okay, cool. All right, so as you play the game, you're going to get war gear, which are weapons and shields and one-time use things, and you'll use these charges to determine how many uses something with multiple use has. All right, I got a whopping 3. Go ahead and beat that. 6. All right, you go first. So we roll one die for movement. Yeah. All right, 3. So you can go here and have 2 yellow threat icons, or there and have 2 blue threat icons.
Let's go yellow.
Okay. You get an encounter, and you get an enemy. All right, so these are different cards from the example we showed you in the beginning, and they're going to move in different times. So both of these are going to go on that space, but it goes event, enemy, encounter, and asset. So the enemy is going to trigger first, essentially. So what happens here is you have a Fiend of Slaanesh. He says if you lose this battle, discard one of your ally assets. That's not going to be too painful because you don't have any. If you win this battle, though, you gain 1 influence. And he has a cunning battle score of 3 right now. So you're going to roll and add to your cunning, which is
1.
Okay. And I'm rolling for the monster. I got a 1. And a 6, so you technically explode and get to roll again, and you get 8 and you get a 9 total, and this guy has a total of 4. So she defeats him, she gains him as a trophy, and the 3 battle value now becomes trophy points, which means that she has 3 total trophy. Because she won, she gets an influence, so she has 4 influence now. Each player starts the game with 3 influence, and then we move on to resolve the next card. One thing I failed to mention, the objective in the center here is just to get to the center. Because this is such a long game, we're not going to show you 2 hours of gameplay, so we're probably not going to get to that center ring, but we'll give you a good idea how it works. So then the encounter happens, which is the Forgotten Portal. At the start of your next turn, you may move to the Webway portal space, which is down here, or any other space containing a Forgotten Portal card. Then resolve your movement phase normally. So that will stay there, and we have a Forgotten Portal. That's good. We usually don't get those a lot. So, all right, so that's the end of your turn, and now it's mine. So I will roll. Now, I have a choice of I can either move 4, or I could technically move over to that space because of my special ability. Instead of resolving your movement phase normally, you can move to any other space in your tier that has 1 or more encounter threat cards in it. Since that is an encounter, I could jump all the way over there. So I need to get over there as fast as possible. I think that's not a bad idea. I will go ahead and jump over to that space. Now, one thing to note, we're not fighting each other. We never fight each other. I wish you would, but we don't. So, because there is already a yellow threat card in this space, I only need to draw 1 more. So we'll go ahead and draw 1 more, and I get an asset, and it is a Vindicare Assassin. Once per turn, at the start of your engagement phase, you may spend 1 influence to discard a threat card on your space. So, this is going to go here. The encounter and the asset are neither enemies, so I'm not going to have a battle. And it is not a stranger encounter, so I can't take that encounter and put it into my hand. Now, assets work differently. Part of what you do phase by phase as you go through resolving the space that you land on, the last piece is requiring assets. So the asset actually becomes part of my list over here, or my set of cards over here. And if you'll notice on the player card, right underneath their portrait is an asset limit. So the power cards and the mission cards and corruption cards don't count towards your asset limit, but in this case this asset will. So moving forward now, once per turn at the start of my engagement phase, I can spend 1 influence to discard a threat card on my space. So if I draw a threat card I don't like, once per turn I'm going to be able to get rid of one of those threats that I don't like. And our guys are hugging and kissing each other, which is kind of weird, so we'll get them away from each other, and then it's your turn to go.
4.
Abandoned Ruins or... Okay.
Let's go red.
Abandoned Ruins it is. 1 red threat icon gets you another encounter, another Forgotten Portal. At the start of your next turn, you may move to a Webway portal space or any other space containing the Forgotten Portal card. We normally don't get a lot of these, and now we have 2 of them already from the very beginning of the game. That's interesting. Okay, that is the end of your turn.
Yes, it is.
Alright, here we go. 1, so I can either move 1 either way or jump around. Well, I actually like that because my willpower is actually really high. So I'm going to move up here, and we'll get a blue threat icon. Ooh, okay, Beast of Nurgle. He is an enemy and he's a demon. He has a total of 5 power, and it's blue, so I'm going to be rolling against my cunning. He says add 2 to this enemy's battle score for each charge token on this card. If I lose the battle, place 1 charge token on it. If I win, gain 1 influence for each charge on it. So right now he's just a 5, but depending on what happens here, he could become bigger, badder, and worse. So Mrs. Tox is going to roll for him, and I'm going to roll for me. Yes, I got a 6. Mrs. Tox got a 1. So I got 6, 7, 8, and 4 is 12 against a total of 6, so I will defeat him. There are no charge tokens on him, so I will get him as a trophy, and now I have 5 points of trophies. You level up. At the end of your turn, you're allowed to turn in up to 6 points of trophies to level up. You don't get change. So whatever you turn in is what you turn in. All right, your turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, I can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're on the battlefield Antia space. So this one has 2 different text boxes to resolve and no threat icons. You can either outfit, which says reveal 3 warrior cards and buy any number of them and then discard the rest, or discard one of your assets to immediately move to the Antian Shrine, which is in here. So you can either buy a warrior card or go over there.
Let's go war gear card.
Alright, so you reveal 3 war gear cards, which are these guys, and you get one of them, or you buy one of them and put the rest back. So it looks like the web gun is out. You only have 4.
I have 4.
4 influence, yeah. So So you have, if I reading them upside down right, frag grenades, the web gun, and the
Inquisitorial Tombs.
Inquisitorial Tome. Okay.
At the end of your experience phase, you may spend 1 charge from this card to draw a power card. During this, during the prepare for battle step, you may spend 1 charge from this card to roll 1 additional die during battle. I will take that.
Okay. So these 2 will be discarded, and then you will spend your influence, and then you will put charges on it because there's 1 charge on it. And I think, didn't you have an ability that gave you more charges or something like that?
No.
Or that was your quest.
That was my quest.
Your quest, yes. Look at my power card again here. Okay. I'm gonna hold on to that for a while. All right, my turn. Let's roll and see what we get. 2, 1, 2. What does the Ultramar Emissary space say?
You can train, discard any number of trophies to gain influence equal to the total trophy point value on the discarded cards,
Okay.
or draw 1 mission card.
I'm actually going to do neither because I don't want to give up my trophy to get influence yet, and I don't want to get rid of my mission because I'm almost right there to win. So
Okay.
I'm just going to leave it like it is. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this before we move on. The reason I'm not going to play my power card anytime soon, it's got a 5, which is great. Power cards you can use in place of a die roll. But it says, play at the end of your experience phase, choose 1 of your corruption cards and discard it. So I'm holding that for when I have a corruption card. Normally I wouldn't tell anybody that, but I figured it's a good thing to talk about since we're just showing everybody how to play the game. So. Dose. Foothills of Lilith, or the Lair of the Vexagar. He has a text box that says, enter the lair and roll 1 die. On a 1, you will miss your next turn. On a 2 to 3, you will lose a life. On a 4 to 5, you'll draw a yellow threat card. And on a 6, you'll gain 1 cunning.
Yeah, let's go for it.
You're going to gamble?
Yep.
Alright. Roll 1 die. Dun dun dun! On a 5, you will draw a yellow threat card and resolve it. And it is an enemy. It is a 1,000 Suns Sorcerer Lord. Add 1 to this enemy battle score for each power card that you have. So you have 1. If you win this battle, gain 1 influence for each power card that you have. And he has a total of 6 cunning. So you're going to roll for your cunning, and I'm going to roll for this.
Okay.
And you can use your power card for a roll for this if you want to, if it's a 6.
Yes, I'm going to use that because it's a 6.
It's 6. Okay, so when she uses the power card, again, you can use it as the number it is on top for the roll. So in her case, it's 6. Or on the bottom when it would let you do it. Most power cards will tell you when you can use it. So in this case, she uses that as her roll as a 6, so it's automatically exploding and she's going to get to roll an additional die. So you have, what for your cunning?
1.
1 plus 6 is 7, plus whatever she rolls here, which is 5, so you have a 12. He has a 6, plus a 3 is a 9, so you defeat him. So that shows you a really good example of how you can manipulate the luck in the game. So had she not used that, she would have had a 6 cunning with her roll and her cunning versus the 9, and she would have lost. But allowing the power cards to be able to be used as rolls, then that gives you a really good opportunity to manipulate that luck. Alright, so that's good. So you defeat him, and that's worth 6 points of trophy. So you can actually immediately turn around and level up if you'd like to at the end of your experience phase.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we'll do that. You'll level up. Now, what is the 2 icons you get? You get a strength, and you get a power card.
Power card.
Excellent. There you are.
And then do I,
No, you only gain a cunning if you roll a 6.
but I gain an influence because I won the battle.
No, that's the guy you did earlier. You gain an influence for each power card. You had...
Okay, so I get 1 influence still.
I don't think so, because you used the power card to play...
Oh, so it would take it out and it wouldn't count it as I had 1 in.
I don't think so.
Okay.
People can chime in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think because you played it during the battle, you don't have it when the battle's over, so you don't have any. So.
Makes sense.
Yeah. You're kicking my butt already, so, you know, it's alright. Okay, my turn. 2. 1, 2, and I will draw a red threat card. And I get an enemy, the Goth Battle Wagon. This is going to be tough. He has a battle strength of 9 for strength. If you lose this battle, choose a threat card in your tier, roll 1 die. On a 1 or 2, discard the threat card, and repeat this process for each other threat card in your tier. If you win this battle, gain 1 completed mission. Well, that's really good. Why do I want completed missions? And we haven't even talked about this. Why do I want to complete my missions? Because during my experience phase, I can turn in 3 completed missions and get a relic. And again, relics are huge. They're very, very powerful.
Just a quick thing, we've been forgetting that I have a battle bonus of 2. So
Oh yeah, you do.
I just
Yeah.
need to
You've
remember.
really been beating people.
No, I gotta remember that.
You've really been beating people. Okay. All right, so I have to face this guy. So I have to think about what I want to do here. I have a strength of 3. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have much of a chance here. Okay, let's go ahead and roll and see what we get. Nope, 4, so I got 7. I'm going to lose. 10, okay, so I lose, so I'm going to lose a life. So I go from 4 down to 3. And then if I lose, we have to roll for every threat card in the tier. So is it every threat card or every other threat card?
Choose a threat card in your tier.
Okay, so let's start with this one.
Then roll 1 die. On a 1 or a 2 result, discard that threat card. Repeat this process for each other threat card in your tier.
So this is each other, so I
Yeah.
don't think it counts for him. So we'll come and do this one for this Forgotten Portal, and that's fine too. Where was that 6 when I needed to roll? Okay.
Okay.
So he stays there, so anyone that lands on that space is going to have to deal with that guy again. And I didn't win a battle in the Forge World area, so I don't get to complete my mission. So I'm done. It's all you. I have been humbled, and I hang my hat to the side. Go back.
Let's go back.
Okay. Draw 3 warrior cards again.
What's the other one? The other one is
The other option is
Just
to
try
discard
to-
one of your assets, and you will move into the anti-enshrine world.
Now I'm gonna look for another. Do the war gear cards.
Okay. 1, 2, and 3. This time around, we have the MK2 Combat Carapace, the Cybernetic Arm, and the Suppression Shield. Getting better at reading upside down.
I'm actually gonna get this one. It says if you lose a strength battle, you may spend 1 charge from this card to prevent the loss of life from the battle.
Well, isn't that fun? Go ahead, and how many charges are on it?
3.
And you're out of influence now.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, just so terrible considering you have so many assets over there already. All right, let's see what we got here. A whopping 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's gonna put me off.
2, 3, 4.
What does that space let me do? What's the name of it? Gray.
Grey Knight Envoy.
Uh-huh.
Says choose either one. Power up, draw a power card, then you may spend influence to draw 1 additional power card for each influence spent. Or you can discard 1 power card to immediately move to the Blackstone Fortress space and into your engagement phase. So you can move up there.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna go this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna fight somebody with some cunning, hopefully. The Imgarl Gene Stealer. He is a Tyranid enemy. You cannot play power cards during this battle. So previously, as Mrs. Tox played a 6 power card, I would not be able to do that. If I win the battle, I gain 1 influence, and he has 5 cunning. Shoo. I have 4 cunning. All right, let's see what happens. 2. Nope, that's not very good. That's good. Okay, so you got 6 versus my 6, and we tie. Okay, because it's a tie, I don't get the trophy, and it doesn't kill me, so nothing happens. So absolute thrilling engagement over here on my side of the board. You're doing really good. I'm just rolling really bad. So
You have to go lick your wounds.
I guess. All right, so I'm done. All you. He stays there, and he will be persistent to bother people. Would you like a red or a blue threat icon? You only
Let's
got
go
one.
red.
Red? Okay.
I have a
All
higher
right.
strength.
The Darkened Glade gives you an event. The Emperor's Blessing. Choose an enemy in your tier with a strength value lower than your strength value. Immediately defeat that enemy and take it as a trophy. Now that's interesting. So do you have... What's your strength?
4.
Okay, so you
So
don't,
we don't have any.
Yeah, the only one is the 9, so that's it. Right, so because that's an event, it doesn't stay on the board. It's just, it happens, gives you that opportunity, and then it goes away. So, would have been great, but don't have anybody out there to handle with it. All right, my turn. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4,
6.
So I will go there and get a red threat card. The Storm Shield. So there's 2 charges on this, and it is an asset. During a strength battle, you may spend 1 charge from this card to force your enemy to re-roll a die of your choice. That's really good. So the asset would go on the space, and then at the end of the turn, I would acquire the asset, and it comes over to me. So now I have 2 assets and a limit of 6. So, yeah, we're good. That's it for me. Unfortunately, no battle, so I still don't get to complete my quest. Dose. The Webway Portal or the blue thread icon. The Webway Portal says roll a die. On a 1 to 2, draw a yellow. On a 3 to 4, draw a blue. And on a 5 to 6, draw a red threat card.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okie dokie. Roll a die.
Okay.
2. You will draw a yellow threat card. And it says, if you win this battle, you may draw 1 corruption card to roll 1 die, then gain influence equal to the die result. And it is a Feral Chaos Renegade. Pretty straightforward. It's a 1 dude. And you're good to go. I will roll for him. You will roll for them or yourself. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Explode. 9 total points.
Can I use my charge to roll an additional dice?
What does it say?
It says during the prepare for battle step.
Technically, yeah, I rolled ahead of that, so yeah, you could have done
So
that.
I can roll an additional
Yes.
die. Okay, so that takes care of this. This goes
Yeah,
away
it just
now?
gets discarded, yes. Oh, and you explode and get to roll a die as well. Alright, so he has a total of 9. You can use that one. You have a total of 11 plus enough to kill him.
It's against my cunning, right?
Yes,
So I
yes.
have 1
to
10,
12.
12.
Yep, 9 to 12. So you do win. So if you win this battle, you may draw 1 corruption card to roll 1 die. Then gain influence equal to the die result.
Okay, I'll take a corruption card.
Pretty good considering your corruption cards always go face down. And then you roll a die and you gain influence equal to it. Which is cocked. Alright. That wasn't that bad. I mean, the fact that your corruption cards go face down is actually really good.
Yeah.
So, alright. Okay, now at the start of your next turn, you may move to a space with a Forgotten Portal card. So you could jump here or you could jump here if you wanted to as well. Alright, I am going to move. Question is, do I want to... See, this is where if we had some more enemies, that would be really helpful because I could move to a space that has an encounter card. But the problem is I have to move to, either this space or this space, and I really want to move to a blue space is what I really want to do, but we'll see what happens here. I think, I think the better move here is, instead of resolving your movement phase normally, I'll move to any other space in the tier that has 1 or more encounter threat cards. I'm going to move over here, because that way I can roll and move back here next turn. So I'm going to move over there and I'll draw 1 yellow threat card because there is already 1 there. And I get a Fugan. These Fugans. He has a battle score of 5 cunning. If I lose this battle, I lose an additional life. Okay, that's going to be fun. Let me see here. It's a strength battle, so I can't use that. I could use my assassin if I wanted to get rid of him, but I don't win and get him as a trophy, which would be bad. Or I could use my card, which would give me a 7 total, but he has a 5. I really need to roll, I think. I think we need to roll. I wish I had... Well, hang on. No, that's only for movement, battle roll. No, yeah, okay. After you roll a die for your movement roll, battle roll, or skill roll, you can discard one of your allies or strangers to treat the result as a 6.
But you didn't roll to move here, though. Is that on?
No, it's movement roll, battle roll, or skill roll.
Okay.
So I'll roll and we'll see what happens. So you roll for the bad guy, I'll roll for me. I got a 3. Ugh, you got a 6. Okay, go ahead and roll again. Another 6. Oh.
This is what usually happens to me when I'm battling.
It does, yes. Okay, go ahead. Alright, yep, so 12, 13, 14, 15, 5 is 20. So I will not be destroying my asset because it's not really going to matter. I'm going to lose a life, and I'm going to lose an additional life because of the Fugan. I am down to 1 life left. Oh, I'm having a bad game. Alright. All you, my love. If you could see her face right now, it's pretty funny.
I'm laughing because it's paybacks.
Yes, I'm laughing with you. 5. 1, 2, is that right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you could move to either of the Forgotten Portal spaces.
I'll move to that.
You're gonna
that
move to
one.
that.
Yeah, because it has
Yep.
it's a red.
Well, actually, so doing that won't do anything because it's just going to land you there, and there's already a red threat card there, and you're not
Okay.
going to draw.
So I'm not gonna draw.
Now you could go here and fight the guy I just fought, or you could go back to the lair or go over here.
I'll go to the blue.
All right, blue threat gets you an enemy, a Tyrannid, a Gene Stealer Broodlord. He has 4 cunning. 4 willpower. Special timing. This enemy is worth 8 trophy points instead of 4 while you are on the Ultramar Emissary space. So if you turn him in for experience on that space, he's worth quite a bit. Alright, I will roll for him. 3. So he has 7 willpower.
Do I get to add my battle bonus?
Yes,
in
you're
with it?
2, because
Okay.
it's a gray number on your card. It goes to any attribute.
Okay, so my willpower is starting out at 4.
That's pretty good. 6. You do not defeat him. Does your Carapace allow you to do anything? The MK2?
It says if you lose a strength battle.
But it's not
It's
strength,
not strength
battle,
battle.
it's willpower. Alright, so you lose.
I
So
lose.
you go down by 1 life. A little payback coming from the universe.
Yes, yes.
Alright, my turn. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this is what I want. I want to end up over here. So I want to draw 2 blue threat cards. The Thousand Sunned Sorcerer and an Encounter. Okay. So the enemy is going to happen before the encounter. So the Thousand Sunned Sorcerer has a battle value of 3 and has a lot of text. So here we go. He says, at the start of this battle, each enemy in your tier with a willpower attribute immediately moves to your space and joins this battle. There you go. If you win the battle, gain 1 power card for each enemy that participated in the battle. So what that means is I'm going to add my willpower and her willpower together and my roll when I face this. This is actually really good. So we'll go ahead and face him. What's your willpower?
2.
Alright, and then I have 4, so I have 6. And then my roll, plus you're going to roll for him. So I have 10, and he has 5. So I will defeat him. And he says that if I win, I gain 1 power card for each enemy. So I'm going to gain 1 power card. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the game, there was a power limit. And the way that the power limits work is as you level up, there's like blocks, and you'll increase your power limit as you get to that column of your chart at the top here. So right now I have a power limit of 1, so I have to choose which of my 2 power cards between the one I have and the one I just acquired as to which one I want to keep. And I am not going to go ahead and keep that one, so we'll get rid of it, and I will keep the one that I originally had. And more importantly now, the Reliquary comes into place, which is the encounter. The Reliquary has 3 charges on it. And it says, you may spend 1 charge from this card to draw power cards until you reach your power limit. So I could, if I wanted to, go ahead and pull off a charge and go ahead and draw another power card. I don't want to because I want to keep the power card that I have. So I'm going to leave it there and not acquire a charge from the acquire assets piece. So that'll be the end of that turn. Hang on. So that's Relic. Relic is big, very big. Now, let's start off by talking about Talisman and Relic, or Talisman versus Relic. I don't own Talisman, but I've played it a couple of times and I have enjoyed it. However, I, like many other people, have had one major issue with Talisman in that it is a lot of luck. Not only is it a lot of luck in terms of how you draw cards, but it is a lot of luck in terms of how you roll the dice. If you don't like that about Talisman, you won't like that about Relic. Now, the one nice thing about Relic with that is that Relic offers you with your war gear, with your relics, with corruption even at times, and power cards, the ability to manipulate that luck. It is still luck, but it gives you a little more control over that luck. And because of that, I prefer this much more in that sense than Talisman. If I had to choose between Talisman and Relic, I would choose Relic purely based on that one attribute alone. Because I like a high amount, or I like a little bit of luck in my games, but I like being able to control my luck more than just random luck happening and sitting here for 2 hours trying to land on the one space that I need to land on. Now, let's talk about components. Component-wise, this game is gorgeous. If you don't like pink, you may not like the board. But that said, it's gorgeous artwork that's on this board. The player pieces are absolutely beautiful. They're very much like several other games that Fantasy Flight has put together. Sky Traders comes to mind in terms of these bust-type characters that are really, really highly detailed. If you're a painter of minis, you're going to love these things in terms of the detail on them and being able to customize them and make them your own. The other thing is the cards are all small half-height cards, so we've talked about this before on our show. I'm not a big fan of them, but for a game like this, they work because there's so many different cards. If these were full-size cards, this game probably wouldn't even fit on this setup right here. The rulebook is phenomenal. Like always, Fantasy Flight does a really, really good job with this. There are just a ton of pictures and artwork in here. There are examples that are very, very clear. I really don't think anyone does rulebooks better than Fantasy Flight right now, although there are other companies that do a great job, but this one is phenomenal. This is a big game to tackle, and having a rulebook like that makes it really, really fun and really, really easy to jump right in and get going. Now, gameplay-wise. Gameplay-wise, there's a lot of luck. You're rolling dice, you're playing cards to manipulate those dice, but that is essentially the mechanics of this game. There are times where you're going to be sitting here frustrated because you can't land on the one space that you need to land on. But that's okay because the experience makes it fun. We'll talk about that in a second. The things that I like from gameplay are big time the variation of the characters. The variation of the characters are great. I've played multiple games with multiple characters and multiple games with the same character, and every game feels different because of their abilities and because of their timing for leveling up. There's a lot of really great times in the game where you can defeat an enemy, get trophy points, which is what you need to move up in terms of level. You get a card for leveling, and it is the exact thing you need to help you out, and it is just a great feeling and a great experience to have that happen. But there's a lot of replayability inside the characters alone. Now that said, the cards are really good, save for one thing. I really like the quests. I like the fact that I have a quest that I have to complete and I have to go around and do something to complete them. The thing that I had an issue with was as I started to play through the game multiple times, I realized that there's a lot of quests that are repeated that are just named differently. So for example, the first game we played had a quest, I had a quest where I had to take a opponent's token and put that, their player token, and put that on my quest card, and my objective of the quest was to end my turn on the same space they were on. And then 3 quest cards later, I got the same type of quest with just a different name and different text and different flavor to it, but it was the same thing. Take a token from that player and end on their space. Now, while the flavor did help set it apart a little bit, the fact that the objective was exactly the same seemed to take away from it a little bit. And I started to notice that there are multiple quests like that in the game. So while I like the quests, I really wish that they were a little more varied for what it was and what you get with the game. The War Gear cards and the Relic cards are great. They become very valuable, especially in a 4-player game because people are racing to level up as fast as possible. The relics just are extremely, extremely powerful, and if you can get one to begin the game with early, it's going to really help you out, but they are challenging to get. We never felt like there was a runaway in any of our games. There were some cases where we were chasing people because they got an early advantage, but we never felt like they were out of reach, and that was actually something I really enjoyed from all these different types of cards. The only other downside to the cards was the corruption cards. Now, like I mentioned in before gameplay when I was talking earlier, you have lives, and when you get defeated by enemies, you lose life. But in addition, there's going to be times where you're going to end up drawing corruption cards. And based on the number of corruption cards you have in front of you, you may have it face up and have to deal with what it says, or you may have it face down and it may count towards your corruption value. Once you hit a certain level, depending on which character you are, you will have enough corruption to be removed from the game. There really is nothing more frustrating than playing a big game like this for 2 to 2.5, 3 hours and being kicked out of the game at the end of the game right before the ending, or at a point where you have to wait another hour for somebody else or other people to finish playing the game. Obviously, in a 2-player game, if you're corrupted and out, then the other person is going to automatically win. But when you're playing 3 and 4 players for a long time, that can be kind of bothersome. Now, the flip side to that is it doesn't happen that much. In fact, this was something that was really interesting. The corruption cards really didn't come into play that much. There's so many things from power cards and quests that will allow you to remove corruption from yourself. We rarely got to a position where our characters were corrupted and pushed out of the game. So while I don't like the concept of being kicked out of the game when it's this big of a game, the fact that it didn't come up was very interesting, and it almost made us question at times why those corruption cards were even involved in the game to begin with, or why they were involved in that mechanism or in that way to impact the game. Because we never really, apart from maybe 1 or 2 games, felt like we were in a bad position with corruption. So, gameplay-wise, the mechanics are great in terms of you move, you handle everything, you deal with the cards that come out. There's going to be challenges, you're going to win, you're going to lose, there's going to be good, there's going to be bad. It's really, really good. But there's a high amount of luck involved. And you're going to have to use these cards to help manipulate that luck if you want to really control the game as much as possible, still knowing there's still going to be quite a bit of luck. Now, the experience of playing Relic is a lot of fun. The experience, first off, is beautiful because Fantasy Flight has done a great job with the components. But more so than that, there's things happening on every turn that are going to keep you completely engaged with this game. Your opponent's going to go, they're going to land in a space, they're going to flip out cards, and that doesn't mean that the cards are going to stay there. There's a lot of cards that, depending on what happens, could move to different spaces on the board. So you may be over here, your opponent may be over here, they may flip out a card that's immediately going to end up over here, and then you could try and get to it and beat it or use it as an event or things like that. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening that are going to keep you glued to it. The power cards also do a really good job of that, because you're going to start to be timing, do I want to use my power card as the power, or do I want to use it as a replacement for a roll and moving around the board more organized or under control, I guess you could say, than rolling dice. The final thing that I really like is the exploding die concept. The fact that you can land a 6 and just blow up is really, really fun. And it provides for a lot of fun around the table. The first game we ever played of this was a 2-player game between me and Mrs. Tox. The first fight that she had, I rolled for the enemy and she rolled for her character. She rolled a 5 and I think had a strength, or a cunning, I think it was, of 9 or 8. I proceeded to roll 4 6s in a row against somebody she should have slaughtered and ended up beating her. Now that sounds crazy and wild, and it is, but at the end of the day she only lost 1 life, so it wasn't that bad of a situation. But it can be kind of frustrating when you think, okay, I've got this. I've got a war gear, I've got a relic, and I've got a lot of this attribute. I'm going to win, and then your enemy just sits there and explodes and explodes and explodes. Now counter to that, you can do the same thing. You can sit there and roll 6 after 6 after 6 and explode and explode and explode. But the concept that allows you to do that is just really fun. There's also characters that will allow you to explode dice on a 5 or a 6, and there's cards that will allow you to get that attribute as well. There's weapons that could do it if you have that specific weapon. And yes, there are a lot of cards that are going to be stealing things from players. So just because somebody gets that as an advantage, you're going to be engaged taking stuff from them as well. So overall, the experience was really good. At the end of the day, if you've never played Talisman, you will enjoy Relic. If you have played Talisman, in my opinion, I think you will like this more than Talisman. I think Talisman is a good game for what it is. I think Relic is a better game for what it is. It takes everything that you like about Talisman and augments it and gives you a little more control over it. I thought they've done a really good job with that. I still think there's a major amount of luck that keeps this from being as perfect or as great of a game as it could be. And because of that, at the end of the day, we're going to give Relic a hit rating. It is beautiful, it has great components, it's very engaging and a lot of fun, but there's a high amount of luck, no matter what your palate taste is, to enjoy luck in your games, that could keep you coming back or could push you away from this. The other thing to note too is, like we said in the beginning, this is a long game. This is not a game that you're going to sit down and play in an hour. It's going to take at least an hour and a half, 2 hours minimum, if not more, to keep playing. To give you an example, the last game we played, which is after multiple games of playing this in a 2-player game, took us 2 hours and 40 minutes. So depending on what comes out, it can be quite lengthy. And when you're playing a game that long, that has that much luck, it can start to become something that becomes frustrating. But the good thing is it's gorgeous. The good thing is it is fun. And even though it may not make it to the table as many times as you'd like it to make it, when it does hit the table, it's going to be a very fun experience. So that is Relic in a very big, very gigantic, very huge ultramarine, space marine set of shoulder pads. Thanks so much for watching. We hope that you enjoyed this critical review of Relic. We'd like to once again thank Dragon's Lair for providing us a copy to review for you. If you're interested in obtaining your own copy, you can check them out online at dlair.net. But whether you're a Talisman player, whether you're a Relic player, or whether you're both or neither, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave your comments below here at the YouTube channel. You can also join in the discussion on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Google Plus by searching Crits Happen, or of course at our homepage at critshappen.com. But until we see you next time, thank you so much for watching. We hope that you enjoy all of your ultramarine space exploration times inside a Relic. Keep rolling those dice, and we hope they're all explosions.